Hi everyone, Sarah Picaro. In this video today, we're going to talk about the narcissistic parent, whether you had a narcissistic parent or whether you have to parent with a narcissistic parent. Both situations are applicable to what we're going to talk about in today's video. What we're going to talk about today's video is what happens to you, what potentially could happen to your children if you are in this situation as well. Because when a parent treats you like an extension of themselves, like a narcissistic parent does, and they don't allow you to have or to form or to hold your own identity, what this does is breathes guilt into you. This is the breeding ground for guilt. And the person who is on the receiving end of not being allowed to have their own identity, not believing that they're capable or worthy or deserving of having their own identity, their own thoughts, their own opinions that are different from that person who's trying to use, abuse, control, manipulate them, aka the narcissist. You feel bad about anything. You feel bad about anything and everything that creates separation and releases the codependency on them or the dependency on them. The narcissist wants everyone in their realm, in their harem, to be dependent on them so that they can stay in the status position of superiority and have everyone feel and believe that they are inferior to them, and that they need them. They need them as like their lifeline, but that is simply untrue. But when a parent treats a child like that, or when you were raised by a parent like that and you were not allowed to have your own identity, it wasn't fully or completely developed and formed, that's the breeding ground for guilt. That's the breeding ground for shame, because you just feel like pieces of you, or you feel like you don't even know who you are, because who you are is now being bred in this petri dish of shame and guilt and dependency on an emotional manipulator and abuser. So you unconsciously, inevitably, end up feeling bad about anything that creates separation. You try and step away, I feel bad. That's guilt and shame, right? You try and step out and go do your own thing, or find out who you are, what you like, what you dislike. And there's this push-pull dynamic of not being allowed to have space or to create that separation. And that's what the narcissistic parent breeds into those that are dependent on them. They breed that into their children, this guilt and the shame of having space and having separation. And you would never be anywhere without me. Who do you think you are trying to do that? And in that dynamic and in that role, in that position, the child in that position knows and probably reads about, learns about, and is taught that you need boundaries. It's very, very difficult to have healthy boundaries with a narcissist because they see them as a challenge, right? And they will try and implement, create, and breed even more guilt and shame into you so that you don't have boundaries with them. So having boundaries and having your own life and valuing your independence from them to that type of person, to the narcissist, is seen as a threat. And anything that they perceive as a threat, they will come against. So you constantly find that in that state, you're on defense and they're taking the position of offense. This type of behavior, this type of interaction is defined as enmeshment. And enmeshment leaves you deeply disconnected with yourself. It leaves you deeply disconnected with yourself on every level, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It often leaves you deeply disconnected from yourself physically as well. Specifically, people that I work one-to-one with, they come to me because they want rapid transformation, rapid breakthrough. They come to me feeling and having experienced a lifelong past of all of this, feeling deeply disconnected from themselves, disassociating, or when they can't and they want separation from it, they will use something outside of themselves to receive that separation from it. Food, alcohol, medications, relationships, you name it. They will go and they will self-harm, they will self-sabotage. And it doesn't always look like, in a bad way. They will just find that they just completely check out, numb on social media, they self-isolate, they go out and continue to invest and spend their time with people that they know are not good for them, or not serving them, or not benefiting them and their emotional, spiritual growth. They'll go do things that they know are bad for them because they feel so disconnected from themselves, and they're reaching for anything that they can grab and hold on to fill that inner emotional void that they feel. And that's this enmeshment. That's the way that it leaves you. It leaves you feeling deeply disconnected from yourself. It leaves you feeling with a loss of identity. Many people tell me, Sarah, I don't know who I am anymore. I can't tell you the last time I knew who I was. I wonder if I ever knew who I was. And I just don't know. I don't know where to go looking for that person. I don't know how to find that person. Yet that's what their soul and their heart and their mind longs for. And that's what we do very, very quickly with our transformational sessions, because it does not feel good to feel that disconnected from yourself. So when you lose your sense of identity and your sense of purpose, you tend to have repressed and pushed down feelings of guilt and shame and helplessness. And those repressed feelings become expressed. They become expressed physically. If you fail to acknowledge them mentally and emotionally, you'll start to see that. You'll start to see different things in your body take place, different dis-eases, right? Because the dis-ease, you're not at ease, you're disconnected, and it will start to show up and represent in types of ways that you don't want or need it to. But that's the power of repression, of guilt, and feeling of helplessness as an adult. There's this deep, deep sense of feeling of helplessness, feeling of powerlessness, feeling of shame, and not being able or capable to do anything about it to change it. So if you're there, I get it. I understand exactly what you're experiencing. And that is what we worked through to get through breaking through very, very quickly in our one-to-one work together. You'll notice as well that you also may find that you rebel. This was me. I was the rebel in the family dynamic that I was raised in. I was the rebel. I was a rebel against enmeshment. My brother, on the other hand, took a different position, but I took the position as a rebel. I rebelled against this enmeshment, and that was expressed in the form of rage and anger. And that created very challenging family dynamics and relationship dynamics. I found that I was self-harming by using things outside myself, right? Relationships, food, alcohol, and very, very toxic and very unhealthy ways, because I was rebelling against this enmeshment. If you would have asked me as a child growing up in a dynamic and family relationship like that, I would have not known what this meant. I came to know what the term enmeshment and the definition of it was as an adult, but that was what I was experiencing then. I just didn't have a name to put to it. And sometimes that can feel good, but that doesn't create and promote inner deep healing and change. Working with the unconscious beliefs that you've established and created about yourself because of those experiences of enmeshments and because of those family dynamic and relationships is the most rapid and powerful way to get that type of change that you're looking for, to truly break out, transform, and free yourself from this enmeshment bond, right? You talk about trauma bond. There's also enmeshment bond. And people who grew up in this type of dynamic had parents who didn't focus on solving problems. They may have perceived that they did, right? Because they had an answer to everything, but they didn't focus on really bringing solutions to the problems. They didn't focus on being encouraging, helping, supporting, listening, guiding. They just maybe there was an enabling parent, and then there was the toxic and emotionally unavailable parent. Maybe both were emotionally unavailable. So they didn't focus on you and what your emotional needs were, right? That's why this whole topic, hold hands with childhood emotional neglect. I've got a ton of videos on that as well. It holds hands with narcissistic abuse. It holds hands with CPTSD. It holds hands with disassociation. You can see that everything is connected and everything is related to that, because the focus was on keeping the image intact. Let's just keep the image intact. Nothing to see here. Everything is fine. And this is what leads to you as an adult later on in life becoming what I call the F me, the fake me, the fraud me, right? Where you wear your own mask and you just stuff it all down, which is the stuffer bottler archetype. I talk about all this in my free training masterclass, which there's a link to in the description below this video. And it's all in an effort to keep this image intact, to make it seem like you're doing fine and you're doing well, but meanwhile, you feel like you're dying inside. There's this inner war and battle going on that you feel like you're just on the verge of losing, and you don't want to, because you don't even want to know what that could mean for you, for your loved ones, for your life. But parents who treated their kids like an extension of themselves are highly, highly, and very extremely insecure. It takes a very insecure person to treat another like an extension of yourself, and to not connect with the fact that they are their own selves, that they are very different, they are gifted, they are talented, they are unique in their own given way, that they're not an extension of you. It takes a lot of self-awareness to realize that. And narcissistic parents, parents who were emotionally unavailable, emotionally neglectful, do not see that. They're very, very insecure within themselves, and they hold on to that extension of the relationship with the child as a sense of security, as a safety, as a comfort blanket. and end up using that to cover up their own inner unhealed wounds and traumas that they don't want to face, that they don't want to see, that they don't want to acknowledge the reality of. So they're insecure with themselves. They're insecure with their attempt to manage another person out of fear. Out of fear, they hold on to that. And they too have their own guilt, their own emotional baggage, their own inner unhealed wounds and traumas that are just getting projected onto others. And that always leads to resentment. You find there's a lot of deeply rooted resentment, anger within the enmeshment bind. You never experience enmeshment without experiencing rage, anger, shame, and guilt. So if you recognize these traits within yourself, you recognize that you were raised in a family with these types of dynamics, and all of the things that you've already done to try and overcome, fix, heal, or change these are not getting you to where you want to be, or maybe they've helped a little bit, but you still feel this each and every day, throughout and woven through all of your relationships, this expression of resentment, anger, and it's linked and direct to the enmeshment that you had with your caregivers, with your toxic parents. Then I would love to connect with you. I would love to see if we're a good fit to work together one-to-one, or perhaps you feel more aligned to join our transforming, pardon me, past pain to present power program. Uh, either way, whichever direction you feel called to go, there are links in the description below this video that will give you more information about how to do both. Until then, I hope this video finds you wherever you are. I hope it helps and supports and guides you along your journey to healing, and I look forward to connecting with you again very soon. Goodbye for now.